Hey there, Adrienne Leese here. Welcome to the Gaia Daily for December 20th through 24th, 2021. Wow, we're just in this massive culmination of energy for 2021, and for cycles, it feels like timelines crisscrossing, coming together, ending chapters, starting new chapters, and it's all happening right here, right now. So the important message for supernova souls seems to be go ahead and be at that crossroads, be at that place outside of time, outside of duality, there, right there in presence in these sacred moments. Mother is calling us home. So this has been a huge theme. If you caught that full moon in Gemini activation, really powerful, direct, and intimate connection with the Great Mother. We are being asked to come home energetically to the earth, to new earth. It's almost like we have been kidnapped and taken onto a different timeline. And so much manipulation that humanity has gone through, and we're starting to wake up to it. And there is a critical mass realizing this. And a big part of this critical mass is those uncorruptible souls, you supernova souls, that came into this evolution with prior experience of spiritual ascension, prior experience of light body. And even though you may have gone through the gamut of attacks and persecutions, you never let go of that original vision of what Earth wants to become. And so you are the dream team, and powerful energies here as we shift into the next chapter. So huge completion energies, and then kind of looking towards what's coming ahead. And it seems to be all about realizing our role as co-creators of the new. Now that it's like our timeline alignment shift, convergence, annihilation seems to be about humanity taking the reins back on their sovereignty, which means being conscious co-creators together with Mother Earth. We have to go home to our heart, home to the cosmos, understanding that everything that's out there is actually in here. And so that's kind of the theme of like recognizing, what are you doing here and what's your role to play in that. Seems to be this coming back into our role as conscious co-creators together. It's glorious and beautiful, but we've got to get over this hump. And what's really going on here? We're really feeling a shift of energy because Venus has turned retrograde, and in Capricorn, hanging out with Pluto for 3 whole weeks. At first, it felt like Venus was marching in with that group of energies behind her, saying, you go face this tyrannical king. You go face this patriarchal nightmare, and we've got your back, girl. But then she's all alone in the ring. Is this feeling with Venus turning retrograde. So we need to look at the cycle, because it's really important for the empowerment of the divine feminine, and the balance of masculine and feminine, which gets us out of the nightmare and into the dream. So Venus is facing the cold, hard reality that she's been manipulated. She's been duped yet again. And she stands there, and it's almost like she's been invited to the table, right? And it's kind of like, well, okay, girl, we know we can't go without you. We see your important part. So go ahead and come here to the table with us. And then at the table, it's like they don't actually want to hear from her. And it's more about making sure that she continues to follow the rules and do what she's told in the patriarchal system, right? This is this Pluto in Capricorn energy. And so now she's got to figure out how to safely extract herself from this situation. It seems like this Venus retrograde is about going and getting her army, right? It's being like, wait a minute. They've left me alone here to face down the man. And then now, how do I even get out of this trap? And this is exactly where we're at with the Matrix, recognizing that we have been in a contrived reality, and our timeline, our future has been hijacked and stolen from us again and again. So this is the feeling right now, and it's powerful. Now, on the other hand, we've got Chiron turning direct, and Mars is in Sagittarius. Chiron is in Aries, and that puts them in a trine. They're not quite in a trine, but they're coming into a trine. And Chiron turning direct is kind of this energy of an empowerment to the masculine, like, whoa, get up, you that surge of energy where we come into our superpowers when we're forced into the corner. And that's definitely the energy of this astrology coming to the end of 2021, is forced into that corner. And one of the powerful messages that's coming through right now, which is kind of something to just contemplate, activating your soul memory of who you really are and what you really know on other levels. But the message is that spiritual ascension, the changing of consciousness levels, involves a 90-degree turn. So there's the message. It's like, and maybe that's Venus being like hightailing it out of there, realizing she thought she was going to be heard and seen and be a part of the council yet again, and it's just another trap, you know. And so how does she exit? Well, and stay safe, right? It's this constant thing. It's like, this is this Chiron in Aries. It's about the deepest wounds. And Chiron really speaks to supernova souls. So it's like, this is where Chiron placement in your chart is the deepest wounds. It's not something you can get in one lifetime, right? It's a story over your whole evolution of your core wound and what you've been working through and being a part of here in this drama. And so Chiron in Aries is about that fight for life and that place of giving, when you're at the point of life and death and having to choose, having to give up your power, having to give up your autonomy, having to give up your freedom in order to stay alive. And well, supernova souls, we played this one out enough. And the deal with Venus now, it's like, they're like, oh, well, we see you are, we can't really go without you. But then they still want to tell her what to do and how it's going to be. And we know it can only be one way, in alignment with love and care and the great mother and the feminine that's been completely just cut out of all of our systems of this world. And so, but they also can't just kill her like they've done before, right? Because she's already evolved beyond that. And that's where supernova souls are in this lifetime. It's like this feeling a lot of times, and this is always connected. It might not be conscious, but subconsciously. It's like this feeling like they're coming for you, or, there's like, and that has to do with fear programming connected to coming into your power. So as you activate into your potential, your power that we talk of, your intuitive power, is things that you've developed and experienced way before you got to this place. It's not what you learned in this lifetime, although it has to be remembered and redeveloped and worked with, right? And then as we do that, we'll get this subconscious fear that will come up. It's programming that says it's dangerous, you're going to be in trouble, they're going to punish you if you access this power. And you can see how the whole story of the Atlantean catastrophes really kind of started this whole nightmare. That's when these powers that took over our timeline started. That was, some people say it could be a couple 100,000 years ago. So is it time to end this nightmare now? And this is where we're at, because so we've got Venus just turned retrograde, and it's kind of like, oh, that feeling of, I thought we were getting somewhere. I thought I was invited to the table. I thought I could play again. And it's like, yeah, only if you play our way, right? And it's like, again and again, the magical, beautiful, creative power of the feminine. I'm not talking masculine, and I'm not talking men and women. This is masculine and feminine within each of us. And it's like the beautiful creation energy, right? So the feminine form represents the female, the access to creative power, the ability to create another human. And that energy has been absconded, and we've given it over and used to create the dark matrix. So how do we take it back? We have to first recognize it's ours in the first place. So this is the process that we're in. And so it's kind of like, and so it's like, oh yeah, oh right, we do need you. but you still have to do it our way and play by our rules and our game. And this is the strange place we're in, where it's like you're being invited out of the trap only to get into another trap. It's like, oh, breaking out of the total lower matrix reality, and then kind of like getting sucked into the next level of matrix control energy where you thought you were free. See, this is how they've trapped humanity again and again. And it's up to us, supernova souls, in this placement where we're at, to recognize the power we have and that you're untouchable because you have this power. Even though I know we've all been beaten down so much, and it doesn't take away from that feeling of just barely making it through what you've had to go through, and it's hard because I know that the people around you generally just cruising along, and nobody can validate what you've gone through and how hard it's been. And so we have to self-validate. And now this is an interesting time because it's like Venus just barely made it to be strong enough to go to the table. And now she's got to escape and build an army in order to really do what she's here to do. And so there's this energy with this Venus retrograde of pulling back in our deep and profound self-care, healing, getting ourselves back to this is Chiron. So Chiron direct is going to be helpful. It could also bring forward that trine with Mars. Mars rules the physical body and Chiron is life force, or the wounds around where we gave it away. And so also the magical power of life force. This is what we're talking about. That creation energy that everyone in that beautiful feminine principle wants to own and control. But she's got to do it her way or we don't get anywhere. And this is what's working out. And the planets is crazy, the story. It's kind of cool because it feels like we've been in a completely confusing time of layers of delusion in our reality, like delusion. And then with the nodes and mutable signs, it's like, what in the heck, But now we're moving to the next stage of the game. And yes, Venus has to recapitulate and she has to go find her inner strength and build an army and try to find some support, right? Because she can't do it all alone as much as she thinks she can. And but all of that has to do with our literally showing up at the table of our own reality and back the reins, driving that chariot again, and all of this pictures really comes back to the superpowers which has to do with light body. And we all have experienced this before. So it's a memory inside of us. Don't believe any of that crap that you have to like do certain things and in order to like activate and like go through some sort of rigorous thing. It's like, no, you've already experienced this. This is why it's been so hard for you. And it's why you made it this far too. So, this energy, so the Venus retrograde is a really important cycle in this recapitulation phase and this re-empowerment phase. It's like, because now the feminine knows that they can't go, she's a crucial player, but at the same time, it's got to be balanced again if we're ever going to get anywhere, or we'll just keep falling into those traps, So she's got to go find true support and healing and regeneration. And so the Venus just turned retrograde yesterday. Just now it's turning. So it's like, Venus retrograde can bring up, especially if you have Capricorn planets, or you have Venus in a feminine sign. It's like, it's just can be really, really vulnerable. And so she's just turned retrograde and then will turn direct at the end of January. So we can kind of see this phase of her journey, but she doesn't come out of shadow until the end of February, beginning of March. And that's where she'll have another conjunction with Pluto. So that's when she goes back to the table with her true wealth. Right? She showed up naked, barely making it, kind of in disarray, and just pulled out of the gutter, right? She had no place in being able to go and claim back power for humanity. And now, so that's a very interesting time there. And Mercury will be taking a retrograde at the same time. Now, this is really powerful because Mercury and Venus come together, so Venus has turned retrograde. Mercury is heading into retrograde shadow, but right in between those times, because Mercury heads into retrograde shadow on the 29th. And that's a very, very powerful time as well. So Mercury and Venus, though, coming into this conjunction. So because of Venus's retrograde, Mercury and Venus generally stay very close to the sun and in the cycles. And so they're generally pretty close to each other. And now they're going to be separating because of Venus's retrograde. And so this is a very powerful conjunction, a meeting of the minds of our messenger in Capricorn, though. And so it's about that enslaved mind trying to become a free mind, and a reorganization. And then Venus is our, the feminine in this empowerment process we're going through, all of us, humanity in general. And so they come together on the 29th of December. And so from the 27th to the end of the month, very, very powerful time to really make sure you find some time in meditation and kind of receive the messages and the clarity, because this is the chapter, this is the shift that's coming. It's going from being victimized by this reality into like, oh, that was only because I'm a major player, not in an ego type of way, but that it's time for us to step up and just be who we are and live and breathe and find that joy in co-creation and get on with it, right? And so this seems to have to do with the nodes of the moon shifting into fixed signs. So the north node is going to be moving from Gemini to Taurus, because they go backwards, just like the shift of ages. And then the south node from Sagittarius to Scorpio. Now, the fixed signs, though, are about completions and establishing rules and or establishing kind of a framework of reality, some stabilization. They're like the archangels that hold things in place. They're the leader. It's a leadership energy. And so the node switching into fixed signs is kind of like, oh, okay, that's what we're doing. Let's go ahead and get to it. So that happens on January 19th. And it's really wild because it's the exact same day we'll be feeling the influence. Like right now, we're right in this Saturn square Uranus, the third and final we started feeling in January. So a whole year of this energy, right? And that influence of Saturn square Uranus for the third and final time goes through the 19th. And so then Venus will be turning retrograde at the end of the month. So January is a very important recapitulation, shifting gears time. And it's almost like 30 days from today into January 20th, right? It's like done in 30. We got to have 30 days of like, going to get our army together, to get our total different game plan. You thought you were going this way. Now it's time to go this way. And that is the whole energy. Do you remember like May 20 nodes went into the mutable signs? And it's kind of this feeling of like, everything you tried, you thought you were doing, you thought you had a plan and direction. And then it was like the whole COVID nightmare just kind of absconded with everything you thought you were, it was just like, and so a total identity crisis, which is good. But now we've got to get into our identity empowerment, which is what we've just felt with that full moon. The sun, who we think we are, our identity going over the galactic center, it's like humanity, this is so much bigger than what we've been told. And we've been just kept in this very small box of quarantine. And we're spiritual beings. We are not trapped here. We're not. If this is a slave ship we're on, then the earth timelines have been, manipulated. It's like our living, breathing, loving Mother Earth as a manifest expression of the divine feminine, the great mother, is accessible to us no matter where we are. We can go home right here, right now. That's what we're being asked to do for this solstice energy, and start to play the game. It's interesting because it's like we're in the Matrix game, and the only way to win at that game is to not play. But we're being asked to start playing in the new energies and play in the new reality and moving forward, right? And letting humanity sort out where they need to be in particular. But as leaders, as the reluctant leaders, but true leaders, this is the squeezing we're in. It's just like being forced into that corner, into that 90-degree turn, and getting on with it, right? Because we talk so much about the Sagittarius South Node and, Mars just going over that south node, and it's like the masculine, our masculine side claiming back our stories, like no more of this triggered into trauma and drama and claiming back all these parts of ourselves that have been stuck in alternate timelines. But we can't, it's the same thing as like the feminine coming to the table, but not really being heard. It's like we can't actually go, yes, we need to close those old chapters. But if we don't, what about baby Jesus? It's like just as a metaphor for the time that we are in right now in the supposed Christmas birth of Christ holiday. It's like we can't go without him either. The magic and the spirit and like what we really are, humanity. That's what baby Jesus represents, and we can't just leave him behind either. So that's what's the big powerful energy of this shift of chapters, is that on the 29th of December, Jupiter will go over into the sign, or on the 28th into the sign of Pisces. And there's a very powerful configuration happening on the 29th. And that is, so the very end of the year, it's like, whoa, because that Saturn square Uranus will be exact at 11 degrees, which is war. It's like the face down. It's this duality consciousness. We can't keep going in the divide and conquer. We're losing our life force. We're losing access to what human, which is our direct connection to God consciousness, which is our vital force, which is our power, which is our immune system. And so it's like the showdown. It's now or never, humanity. We got to wake up now. We're at the end of the road. We're at the end of the chapter. So the moon will be in Scorpio on the 29th, and that will make a T-square with this Saturn square Uranus. And and that's the same day that like Jupiter has just moved over into Pisces. And that's what starts the whole dream team chapter. Like, wait a minute, we got to close the old chapters of trauma and drama, the South Node Sag. But how can we get anywhere without the spirit of the Piscean age, the soul, the mystical revelation? It's like all of the control energies represented by Pluto and Capricorn were able to use the spiritual feeling that humanity was able to connect to control humanity through religious structure. And the religious structure doesn't actually have claim on the spirit, though, on the Holy Ghost, on whatever you want to call it, the source energy that's we're all have access to. They're trying to, aren't they? They're trying to do everything to disconnect us from our immune system and the power to heal ourselves, and the power to connect with something greater, which is actually who we are too. And so it all is coming to a head and very powerful. And it's there's definitely a split here. It's interesting because we've had this divergent timeline thing, and it's like they're all trying to come back together into that oneness. But humanity still has a couple, maybe another year or two before they have to really decide about spiritual ascension, it seems like. But we can't stay there with them. So we're having this solstice is about like jump over into that ideal spirit timeline, back into our divine timeline, and start working there as the dream team, the co-creators, the conscious co-creators of the loving world that we know we're here to live and breathe. And it's like, no more bullshit. We're not playing. We take all of our energy back from those stories. And we're untouchable and we're uncorruptible. And now we recognize this, we remember. And that's what Venus just did in this council, as she's still there with Pluto. Now, whoa, talk about this intensity, because Venus and Pluto together for 3 whole weeks, the whole month of December. And now Mercury is coming in. So Mercury just yesterday was an exact square to, we're still feeling this with Chiron. And so Mercury in Capricorn, and it's speaking to mind control and trying to get out of mind control, and out of our psychological control brain, basically. And Chiron, that fight for life force, but Chiron turning direct. So the surge of power, right? So it's almost like, is this what's going on for humanity? It's not until the end game that you find your power. It's not until you're pushed into that corner. It's not until you almost lose your life force that you claim it back. And that's this kind of wounded Chiron, the wounded warrior, and the masculine, just, stuck in those old stories of failure and not good enough for God, and you didn't do it right and all that stuff. And then just, almost surrendering to death, which is impossible, right? Because there is no death, but then being like that surge of power. And this is this Chiron direct and very interesting energy because it's happening at the same time as Venus retrograde, and maybe that's the message. It's like, yeah, you can't send Venus in all alone to go up against the man. Like, it's not going to work. So we've got to be with her. And that means we need to find that wholeness within us. We need to hear the voice of the feminine and find the voice of the feminine, that part of ourselves that is coming in love and care for humanity. And we need to do it right. We need to take care of people, or what is the frickin' point, And that's what Venus started to say in council. She's like, we got to do it my way. And they're like, no, you're going to still follow the rules if you want to, play the game. And she's like, not playing. So if that means I got to go in exile for a little while longer until I recapitulate, fine. And so this feminine part of each of us is heading into exile, adding into the wilderness. And the wilderness is where you have to be alone in order to face that that distortion of Satan or sin inside of each of us, and really for the supernova soul, the biggest sin is shame, is your self-deprecation. And it's like, we got to just wash all of these stories away. It's like we're being baptized. That's maybe the energy of this Jupiter heading over into Pisces, and the water and the spirit, and like baptized again in the Holy Spirit of who we really are. And like we said, you can't just fight the battle and leave the death. You've got to have the winning. And so that's baby Jesus. So that's the innocence and the purity, the children. We're saving the children. And we are the children, the spiritual children that have been stolen. And it's playing out in our world. Wow, it's so intense. And this is our opportunity to step out of the game and see it from the other side of the screen of the movie. That seems to be what the solstice is about. So very powerful energy. But going back to Mercury and Venus coming together, and they have a very powerful meeting that, like I said, on the 29th exact, but the 27th through the end of the month, and really powerful to take time to really meditate and be in the energy of this new chapter, the dream team, and what it is you came here, how to move forward, and messages from the messenger, and bringing those messages not in alignment with the control mind and matrix, but with that divine feminine healing force that we can't get anywhere without. And so it's really powerful that Venus and Mercury will not come back together for almost a whole year after this conjunction. So the ramifications of what Venus is going through right now will not be fully manifest until November 2022, because Mercury and Venus will come together and move over into Sagittarius together. At 0 degrees Sag, they start to become in a conjunction, and they stay close and that's really rare too. They stay close for 2 whole weeks for the whole second part of November. So Thanksgiving 2022 is kind of like where we really get the redemption of everything we're dealing with right now. And so it's really powerful. And it's kind of like that rebirth of, so again, it looks like maybe 2022, we're going to slip over and start working in the new energies, but humanity, the rainbow bridge will still be open. So if you'd like to, and you're ready to, as this kind of energy comes through in this next couple of days for solstice, we're being invited to step into council and be the army of the goddess and recapitulate together and be the dream team, step into the work we're here to do and start living and breathing in that energy as the solstice. So in just a couple of hours or an hour, is when the solstice soul group session is, and we're establishing a frequency vibration. The actual solstice is tomorrow morning, and but setting the energy for these next couple of days in this solstice soul group session. So a soul group session is a group intuitive session where we look at shared past life pictures and energies that come up for supernova souls. Timeline alignment, really important, because we just had our completion of the eclipse cycle, right? So that's powerful. Just 2 days before the solstice, it's like of that full moon in Gemini, and it's like hooking in, right? We've been like, whoa, right? And it's like, oh, no, no, no. I'm going to drive this ship, that chariot energy, right? So there's definitely light body activation, soul retrieval, timeline alignment. All of this is kind of on the table. We don't get to decide exactly what comes up in the sessions because you bring this supernova souls. And then I'm just honored to be a facilitator, to receive these pictures, to give us the guidance and support that can move us over this hump and onto that, just take that leap over that divine timeline. It's almost like maybe we did get kidnapped or abducted onto this slave ship, and we think we're on Earth, and it's all about keeping us from our timeline. But there's another ship coming, a light ship, and we can just kind of like it's coming into orbit, and we can just jump on and go home to Earth. Who knows? It's the layered, delusional, crazy reality we're living in right now. So incredibly powerful times, and let's stay connected. And because it's like these moments are very crucial. It's like we got to get all these things in alignment. We got to get on the light ship. We got to get connected with each other, and we've got to receive the messages of our role as leaders in this next time with this nodal shift into the fixed signs and that fixed T-square, Saturn square Uranus, and that peaking out on the 29th. We're feeling it right now. It's already exact, but and so this energy is the backdrop of 2021, and Saturn square Uranus is like, why aren't we seeing the changes in our manifest reality that fit the energetic changes? Because shit is weird, and there's all kinds of weird time loops, and time is so strange, and different dimensional realities, but our physical world, it's like, oh, status quo, status quo. This is how the control energies have kept us in time loops for so long, because nobody wants to disrupt the status quo, right? Nobody wants to rock the boat. But supernova souls, that's kind of been your MO, right? So here we are rocking the boat. And I see this picture of like, it's like we're pushing up against this energetic wall of matrix reality. And it's like when your car gets stuck in the snow and then the more you try to move the wheels, the less traction you get because the deeper the hole gets. This is our reality. And now we've got enough light workers and supernova souls on board, and we're kind of rocking, and pushing up against that bubble of false reality quarantine. And once that pierces open, what happens? Is it the flood of the Holy Spirit, the baptism, that Jupiter moving over into Pisces? Just like we can't pretend we're not in a quarantined fake reality anymore. The light shines through too bright. We can see this in all of the patterns that are playing out and the Schumann resonance and the energetic and the planetary cycles. It's all lining up. So I hope that you can consider joining this soul group session. If you can't make it live, which is happening in just an hour, then know that you can catch the replay, and we're working outside of time. So the energetic messages are there for you, and the information to sign up is in the information box below the video. And so if you can make it, I hope to see you there energetically, physically, or on the replay. And know that supernova souls, we're building a field that cannot be undone. This is just like our soul power that we've built over many lifetimes and evolutions, our uncorruptible self, our full initiate God self that they tried to do everything to keep us from knowing. the field that we create when we come together just gets stronger and stronger. And even if you're not a part of future events or what past events, you can still draw from this field. It's so beautiful. And that's why I just deeply appreciate your support and coming and bringing your energy, your offering to the table for this beautiful co-creation experiment. And especially now, as we are being invited to step through the delusional energies of this particular matrix and begin to co-create in the new earth energies. And Mother is so strongly calling us home. So if you didn't get that full moon activation and you're interested in this intimate reorientation, remembering of your relationship to the Great Mother energy, go ahead and catch the replay of that Pisces, the Gemini full moon. And that seemed to be setting the stage for this soul group session. So I hope to see you there on the next update. A powerful week, couple of weeks ahead. And the message is that spiritual ascension's a 90-degree turn. So what in your life needs to be, it's like when you're going this way and all of a sudden you got to go that way. It means, we're being asked to let go of all of the old stories, but don't leave without the magic. Don't leave it's almost like, okay, so this is a powerful picture because it's, say you're being abused in your household, which we all know this, supernova souls, right? The empath narcissist relationship and those control energy, contractual arrangements, lower contractual relationships with people who've gone on for lifetimes, sometimes, family members and others, all designed to kind of make sure you don't ever know who you are. And you leave and you flee, right? You get, oh my God, I made it out of this situation. But then it's almost like you're left with a hole because they were using you as a food source. And so now Venus has to go back and get that and complete and not run away and stand up and say, I'm no longer your bitch, not for sale. This beautiful, glorious thing you've worked for evolutions and lifetimes is for you to do what you wish with, put towards what you want to. The humanitarian projects that are coming, it's going to be so glorious and beautiful to finally build the world that we know is possible. And so you got to take all your energy back. And it's kind of like you got to go back and get baby Jesus, and say, hey, just to know you for sure that I'm not playing anymore and all contracts are broken, because nobody has claim to this magic except for that great mother, great father, the cosmos, the co-creation, the highest divine, one true creator timeline. And that's you. So really powerful times. Let's stick together and remember to stay in council. Remember ascension, the message, whatever that means. Ascension is a 90-degree turn. And that there's powerful messages coming in about your particular role in the next steps moving forward, finally, 2 years later. So make sure to come into council, to be in that space outside of time, outside of duality. Spend as much time as you can there. This is one of those periods of time of the constant vigil. And particularly this time of year is always about this, like the whole 12 holy nights. There's an energy that goes through into that epiphany time in January. And so just know that this is a very intensified version of that, where it's almost like Venus was just going in there to spear. She's like, I'm okay. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to go. You guys you're distracted. I'm going to go and kill, just put that spear through the head of the monster. And then she's surrounded and threatened and intimidated and controlled yet again. And she's kind of got to slip out there and go get that support she needs to come forward, because we have to do it in wholeness, and we need that feminine, and we need baby Jesus, the divine masculine, Christed principle in perfect balance if we're ever going to get anywhere. And this is the game that we get out of the game. So I look forward to seeing you soon, here in just an hour at that soul group session or on the next update. Until then, so much love to you, Supernova souls. Thank you for being here. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Namaste.